Hello everyone, welcome to another in our many-part series, Go Teach Abroad Interview Tips, sponsored of course by GoOverseas.com. That was a brief reference there to my idol Stephen Colbert, when he goes, the second in my unlimited part series. If you haven't watched Colbert, especially his Better Know a District, then you should do that. But watch this first, and then go on to that. Okay, let's get down to business. So Go Teach Abroad Interview Tips. For those of you who don't know a little bit about my background, I interviewed teachers for Teach Abroad programs for many, many years. So you are really getting an expert opinion here on what you should and shouldn't do in an interview, and I hope you'll find it helpful in preparing for your interviews and hopefully a successful career teaching abroad, or at least a successful year or two giving back to the country that you visit and teach in. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, before you even step into the interview room or over the phone and do the interview, let me take a step back here and say that right now what we're talking about are over the phone or on Skype interviews. We're not talking about in-person interviews. As we know, when you're teaching abroad, often the interviews are going to be over the phone or over Skype. They're not as often going to be in person because you're not going to fly all the way to China or Taiwan or Korea just for the interview before you found the job. So most of you are going to find yourself in that situation. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about in-person interviews on a different podcast. Okay, let's get down to it. Preparation. Before you even get on the phone, preparation is very important. You really want to do some research into the company. You really want to do some research into the person who's going to be interviewing you, if you know who that person is. Find a little bit about them. Find out a little bit about the company. All the things that you learn when you do your preparation will come into play in some of the later points further on. But you want to know a little bit about the country too. They're going to ask you questions about the country, and you're going to want to show that you have real interest in that country. It's not something you've just decided to think about for the last week. Even if it is, you want to make sure it doesn't seem that way. But it's a big decision. You're going halfway across the world, and the more research that you do, the more preparation you do, the better. So start now, do preparation for the interview, and that will help you ask good questions through the interview too, which is an important thing. So do as much preparation as possible. Read the website for the company. If it's a recruiter, read the recruiter's website, the website for the schools you might be interviewing for, and do your research properly. That's preparation. Okay, you've done your preparation. You're probably sitting there on the phone or on your computer on Skype and really nervous about your interview. So what do you do when the person first calls you, you first say hello? How do you set the right tone? What you want to do is be enthusiastic right away. Be friendly right away. Studies show that interviewers generally make their decision in the first 5 minutes of the interview, if not earlier. So first impressions are so important. And over the phone where they hear your voice and they don't see you, if you're smiling, they can't tell. So you have to be enthusiastic. You're going to be teaching children. So children generally, think about when you were a kid, don't want to be learning for someone who speaks in a very monotone voice and isn't giving enthusiastic responses. That's not something you want to do. So what you really want to do is come across as a friendly, energetic, charismatic person who the interviewer is going to say, if I had a kid, I want that kid to be in the classroom with this teacher. This is the kind of teacher I want in my school. That's the kind of impression you want to give right off the bat. If you give that impression right off the bat, it's going to make the rest of the interview very, very easy. So set the tone from the beginning. Be enthusiastic. And be enthusiastic throughout the interview. There's a number of good opportunities for you to be enthusiastic. There's a number of softball questions you're going to get. They're going to be perfect layups for you to be enthusiastic. Great example will be, they're going to ask you why you want to go to blank country. Why do you want to go to South Korea? Why do you want to go to China? Why do you want to go to Taiwan? Why do you want to go to Spain? Let your enthusiasm shine through. Don't even think about it. Just be yourself. And then you'll be enthusiastic because you should really be excited about spending a year abroad with something you want to do. So talk about the food. Talk about the culture. Make sure that they see that you're passionate and excited about this experience. So that's a great opportunity to be enthusiastic. Okay. Asking questions. Really, really, really important. What kind of questions do you want to ask in an interview? What you don't want to do, first and foremost, and it's amazing how many people made this mistake when I did interviews, don't ask about the money first. Think about it from an interviewer's perspective. You're interviewing someone to teach in your school or in a partner school if you're the HR person. What do you want someone to care about first? You want them to care about the students first and foremost, right? I mean, no one who's listening to this, if you want to be a teacher, the students has to be the first thing that you think about. You have to want to be around children. It's an important responsibility. The students spend a lot of time in classrooms, especially if you're going to be teaching in Asia, and they need someone who cares about them, who wants to be there, who wants to make their day a little bit more enjoyable because they have such a long day. So if you're just going for the money, stop. Don't do it. There's other ways you can make better money than being a teacher abroad. You can make good money doing it. It's a great experience, but it shouldn't be the first reason that you want to go. So asking questions. Don't ask about money first. The other thing about money, look, it's an important thing. We all have to make money. We all have to live, right? But you can find out about that later on. It doesn't have to be during the interview. It's not going to change just because you didn't ask during the interview. The salary's not going to change. So you can ask about it in a follow-up email. You can find out about it usually on the website in a follow-up conversation. The interview, the first interview, is not the place to ask about it, at least not in a very direct way, and especially not your first question. So what should you ask? Ask about your schedule. Ask about the kids. Ask how to be a better teacher. Ask how you can prepare for the experience. Ask about the interviewer's experience. Ask them how they felt their first year abroad. Ask them about things that they would have done to prepare to be a better teacher before they went. Ask questions that will help you as you research this experience more and help you towards your goal of being a good teacher. Those are the type of questions that you should ask. And they should reflect your true attitude and hopefully your dedication to going for the right reasons. Because that's what the interviewer is going to be looking for. They're going to be thinking, why does this person want to work at my school? Why does this person want to be around children? If you can answer those questions by asking good questions, it's the best way you can do things. Great. Okay. Now, before we get to the follow-up point here, which will be our last point, there's something else you should think about here too. Think really carefully about teaching. You're going to be asked direct questions about teaching. Be prepared with some answers. If you haven't worked with kids before, that could be okay. You might still be able to get a job without having a lot of experience working with children, but talk to people who have. Learn about what that means. Not everybody likes working with children, and you need to yourself think about whether it's the right decision for you. And if it is, do research, because you're going to have to answer questions about teaching children very directly, or adults if you're interviewing for an adult job. You're also probably going to be asked questions about living in another country, about culture shock. Almost everybody goes through culture shock. I did. Most people I know did. It's up and down. It's part of what makes living abroad wonderful. It's part of what makes it really challenging. You're going to go through the experience of culture shock from the honeymoon phase to the rejection phase and all of that. I recommend you read it. That's another podcast that we're going to be doing soon as well. So be prepared to answer questions about why you're able to, or going to be able to, live in another country and be successful even with all those challenges. That's really important. And think carefully about that, because some people can't adjust. Well, it's not for everybody. So think carefully about whether or not you're the right person for that. And if you are, be prepared with a good answer about why you can do it. So follow up. Now, the interview's over. You've hopefully been very successful in the interview. How do you follow up? What you should do always is write a follow-up email thanking the person that interviewed you. If you have any follow-up questions, email the person with follow-up questions that you might have. Follow-up's important. It shows initiative. It shows that you really want the job, that you're interested in it. So follow up afterwards, and that will leave the interviewer with a good impression. Okay. So we've gone through a number of things here. We could probably talk about this for longer. There's a lot of things you could do to prepare for the interview. I'll look forward to the comments that people have. If you have any questions about this, please feel free, and I will respond in the comments to any specific individual situations, because every individual is different. That's an important part of the interview too. You want to make sure that you've done a good job of showing who you are as an individual. Everybody's a little different. So you don't want to look at an interview as a formula, that you're following. You want to just be yourself, and you don't want to also just be too stiff and nervous. And I don't want any of the things that I just told you here to make you say, okay, I've got to prepare, right? I've got to set the tone in that order, because that might get in the way of you just being yourself, and that would be a mistake too. So keep these things in mind, go in with the right attitude, but be yourself too. Be relaxed and be enthusiastic. Those are the most important things that you can do, and hopefully those things will shine through. Great, thank you everybody. This is our Go Teach Abroad Interview Tips podcast, as you know. I hope you found it useful. Join us for the next time as well. Of course, this is all sponsored by Go Overseas. So visit the website if you're interested in any teaching abroad opportunities. We didn't talk about countries today, but on the Teach Abroad website, there's literally a listing of every program in every country in the world, together with ratings and reviews. So whatever country it is that you're interested in thinking about considering teaching abroad in, go look it up there, and you can compare all the different programs, the different options and salaries and all of that, and decide which country is hopefully the best for you. So happy hunting, good luck with your interview, and we'll see you soon.